going on with that and what you are doing and why it's going to be an amazing movie that everybody needs to see, and they need to go to Indiegogo and donate some more money as well.
Definitely. Actually, you catch me at a really good moment. I've just finished, on Friday, I finished what is called the first draft. That's actually a technical term, a technical contractor on the first draft. It's actually my fifth draft, but I finished now the draft that I'm going to hand in to the producers, Ann and Phelan, for them to look at, and then we'll move on from there. That's the starting point of every movie. You can't get anywhere without the first draft of a screenplay, and we have it now. I'm really happy with it. I can tell you, I am very jazzed up and excited over it. I think it's different than what a lot of other writers would have written, but I'm really happy because I set out to solve the problem of how you make a movie about such a grim subject and still make a movie that people want to see. It's not enough, in my mind, to be worthy, to speak the truth, to tell the truth. You also want to be incredibly entertaining and gripping and tell a story that people want to see. And so I feel in my heart that I've solved that problem. And, of course, as we go forward, I'll find out more as people get to read the script.
Well, it's interesting to me, how in the world, when you're delving into the Kermit Gosnell story, I mean, do you just feel like you need to take an extra long shower 5 times a day to rid yourself of just literally the evil that was going on in that guy's world for how many years?
Yeah, it was a long time. It was decades where he was hidden in plain sight because people were made blind by their politics. People were made blind by the fact that they didn't want to threaten the abortion industry. They didn't want to threaten what they think of as a woman's right to choose. Even after he was arrested, even while he was on trial, the media just turned a blind eye to what was going on because they did not want their cherished notions of abortion freedoms to be challenged by what he was doing. 3 months went by. This guy was the worst serial killer in American history. 3 months went by in which the media the mainstream networks did not do a single story about the trial or about the crimes. That's how desperate they were to be blind to it, and that was only at the end of 20 years of the state and officials and inspectors being blind to it, and other doctors being blind to it.
Do you think, so what's the fallout going to be? Just as you said, and this was just a terrible travesty at the time, Andrew, when, as you just said, the media was ignoring it, as the state did. But the movie comes out. Are we going to see protests and so forth, stuff written for the same reasons? Because this really destroys a lot of the narrative. And this threatens these people, doesn't it?
I feel it does. I feel that that abortion is in some uncanny way at the heart of the leftist vision of what human beings are. They are not souls or spirits, embodied. They are just pieces of meat that need to be fed and processed and passed on from cradle to grave. Listen, let me put it to you this way. I'm not looking forward to convincing anybody on the left that they have made a terrible moral error. I do not think that's going to happen. I think there are people with open minds. There are people with open hearts who are going to look and see this. It's not a polemic. It's not a preaching story that hammers you and says you have to believe this. It really only tells the story. It tells what happened, and I hope that will speak for itself. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to this kind of media reception of people throwing roses at my feet. And
exactly.
I'm just not. Yeah, I've gotten past the point where I'm actually expect people to like you for telling the truth. That's not the way it works.
It's incomprehensible to me. I mean, I was speechless. I literally was speechless when I started reading and hearing about some of the horrors. I mean, the fetuses in toilets and on and on and on in the separate rooms where black women were treated differently than white women and so forth. I mean, if you were going to try to make something like that up, I don't think you could make it any more evil, Andrew.
Yeah, what I had to do, what I've tried to do is I've tried to use the fact that I've spent a lifetime as a writer of crime stories, a lifetime writing stories about evil and what evil can do, and trying to make it, not just gripping but also entertaining. And I had to put myself in the mindset. Where I could deal with it at that level, because I just think that, as you describe it, I mean, nobody wants to go and see a movie that is just a relentless hammering of horror. Maybe some people do, but I don't think most people do. And I think I had to turn that into a story, and that's really been the task that I set myself, and the task that the script kind of posed to me.
Now, one of our listeners, Watson, just tweeted to me, Andrew, and this is an incredibly good question. Do you think that there's going to be some sort of "you're a racist" fallout because Gosnell, obviously black man?
Yeah, no question about it. Not only was he a black man, a lot of the people who investigated the story were white. As you pointed out, and this is absolutely true, the Gosnell, the black man, was giving white women much better treatment than he was black women. And in spite of all his rhetoric about women's rights and how he was serving women, his actual treatment of women was filthy. I mean, his treatment of women, I don't even want to describe on the air the kinds of things that he was doing that revealed how he felt about women. Yes, I think I get called a racist like every day. I mean, so
Welcome to the club.
Yeah. I mean, it's all they've got at this point. And I always point out that what the left has done to poor black people in America is unforgivable. It's despicable. It has crippled so many people. So many people are out right this minute protesting the death of a couple of thugs at the hands of the police, instead of protesting the fact that every time leftist criminal justice is implemented, the rate of innocent black people being murdered skyrockets. This is happening in Seattle right now as we speak. It happened in New York in the 70s when leftist criminal justice ideas were put into practice. When Rudy Giuliani came along, he saved hundreds and hundreds of black lives every year, and every day accused of being racist. So, this is the kind of upside-down wonderland world we're living in, and you just have to develop a hard skin, because the minute you start to defend yourself against what is clearly dishonest attack, you're just going down the rabbit hole, basically.
And as horrific as what Gosnell did for so many years is, and it's the kind of sensational stuff that even while ignored, as you said, by the mainstream media for as long as it could get away with it, as horrific as it is, it's the tip of the iceberg, because maybe not to that terrible degree, but not the hundreds, but the hundreds of thousands and the millions of black babies in poor neighborhoods aborted by Planned Parenthood and others throughout this country. Basically, we hear crickets.
That's right. I mean, I hesitate to use the word Holocaust, but in New York State, they just find that more black babies are aborted than actually born. And what is interesting about this to me is it goes hand in hand with the fact that the rate of illegitimacy in black neighborhoods is now higher than it was in slavery days. So leftist policies have managed to break up black families more effectively than actual slaveholders who were openly trying to destroy black families. So if the rate of illegitimacy has skyrocketed and the rate of abortion has skyrocketed, it seems to me that the argument that somehow abortion prevents illegitimacy is a bad argument. It seems to me that, in fact, these two go hand in hand, and that the entire moral vision of the left is to blame for what's happening to poor black neighborhoods. Illegitimacy is one of the key issues that causes generational poverty. The left has a lot on its shoulders, as far as I'm concerned. They have a lot of sins on their shoulders, and I would add, by the way, that the right has been too silent too long, and Republican politicians have not gone into these neighborhoods and proposed an alternative vision for them. Mitt Romney had the guts to do it at the NAACP and was rapidly, of course, attacked by the media, but I think we need to see more right-wing politicians going in there and saying, hey, there is another way.
No question. Hey, tell us about the timeline of the movie. like the arc to the finish and so forth. Kind of walk us through that quickly if you can.
About it's getting when it gets made, you mean?
Right. What are you thinking?
No, well,
Yeah, well,
that
you know,
part, when's it coming
I'm
out, but also just the timeline. Are you going? How far back are you going into Gosnell's
Oh, okay. Yeah,
practice?
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of the movie getting produced, I am really hopeful. I mean, this is not the way a studio movie. If I were talking about a studio movie, we'd be talking about a timeline of 5 years and more.
Right.
I'm very much hoping that we will have cameras rolling sometime next year, which would be great. I mean, it would be close to miraculous, but I actually think it's possible. And like I said, I feel really good about the script, and that's always a huge step forward because it's the script that gets actors and directors interested and so forth. So I'm hopeful. You know, I'm optimistic that we'll be rolling film next year, which would be great. And as for the story, you know, I don't want to give too much of the script away. I haven't handed it in to the producers yet. I feel like they deserve a first read, so I don't want to give too much of it away. But I try to tell a lot about what not just what he was doing, but about the things that finally brought him to life.
Okay, that's incredible. Obviously, the success that the film had, that Annenfilm had, raising at Indiegogo, was staggering. And I just saw, I believe it was yesterday, announced that John Sullivan has just been brought on as well.
Yes, that was wonderful news. I mean, I think that these are the kinds of people we need involved. We need people who can make things happen and make things work. I mean, there's going to be, as you can imagine, there's going to be a powerful blowback against this picture. You know, I mean, I think that there's going to be a real how can I put it, a real sense of a power of inertia against it. I doubt any film festivals will welcome it. You know, I doubt it will be able to travel through some of the usual pathways that independent films go. And yet, I have a lot of faith that it's going to make its way. And when I hear that, you know, names like this, like Sullivan, are coming on board, I just think that's really encouraging.
Oh, yeah. And now, for those that aren't aware, Sullivan was involved in both of Dinesh D'Souza's movies. He was involved with Ben Stein's movie Expelled 6 years ago. In fact, I met John, the tax movie that was just done last month, Unfair. I met John for the first time at the red carpet screening of that up in Universal City just a month ago. And I saw that yesterday, and I just thought, okay, this is just continuing to build what this Gosnell movie is going to be all about, which is just super exciting.
Yeah, and I mean, when you consider the success of Dinesh's movies, Dinesh virtually had to go to jail for making them. So you know that they hit a nerve. So I think that's just a great kind of expertise to bring to this project.
Sure.
Hey,
well,
listen,
that obviously brings up, Andrew. You can expect some incoming phone calls, perhaps. Unfortunately.
You know, I mean, I have just my policy has always been to say what's on my mind. It has been my policy my whole life. I trust to my own heart, you know, in the sense that I really know for sure that I have no animosity against any group of people. You know, I solely about principles, the principles of liberty, which I think is the first principle. I think liberty comes even before faith, because it's in liberty that you find faith in a free way. So, you know, I'll stand up to those principles just about anywhere. But yeah, I get a lot of blowback. I mean, when you live in LA and when you work in Hollywood, you hear about it, and I hear about it quite a lot.
Listen, you guys, we're within 30 seconds. Andrew, we got to have you back for like 2 hours, man. It's Andrew Klavan, KLAVAN.com. And listen, go to truthrevolt.com and check out Andrew's videos. Man, that's how I became aware of you. Thank you for joining us today.
It's a real pleasure talking to you. Thanks a lot.
This is The Right Mics with Mike Miller and Michael Hausen. We will be back after the break. This was fun. Do not go away.
Hi, this is Taylor, and while you're listening to all the other great shows here on Vigilant Liberty Radio, be sure to check out my